Hello YouTube and fellow DC Comic fans. I'm Kelly One Shot, and this is the Post-Crisis Podcast. And today, we're going to talk about Nightwing number 63 from DC Comics, written by Dan Jurgens. Okay, so several issues ago in Batman, we actually seen that the KG Beast shot a bullet into Nightwing's head, and this caused Dick Grayson to suffer through amnesia. When he woke up, he was told from Barbara Gordon and Alfred and Bruce that he is Dick Grayson, this is his life, he was Robin, he was Nightwing, he was Batman for a time, and he did all of these tremendous things as a superhero. But Dick Grayson decided that he doesn't want this life forced upon him, that now he can go out and do his own life. He can choose his own fate. He can be his own person. And just because you're telling him this doesn't mean that he has to accept that or he has to embrace that as his truth. So he decided to start calling himself Rick Grayson, and he decided to start living another life. He became a cab driver, he met a girlfriend, but eventually he ran into a group of 4 people who are wearing the old Nightwing suits, 2 of which are wearing the old blue and gold Nightwing suit from the 80s, and 1 is wearing the new 52 with the black and the red, and the leader of the group is wearing the main black and blue Nightwing suit, and they have been going around Bloodhaven and saving the day in Nightwing's absence, and they are calling themselves the Nightwings. Well, eventually Rick Grayson has started running into the Nightwings more and more, and he's decided to help them, and he's even started to wear this little suit with this like Arrow-style painted mask over his eyes to conceal his identity or whatever, and he's kind of been helping them out in fighting crime throughout Bloodhaven, and because at the end of the day, they're all cops and firefighters and paramedics who just kind of stumbled upon Nightwing's old hideout and took his costumes and started running around and pretending to be superheroes. So that's what's been happening. It's been interesting, it's been making me come back, but every issue kind of seems the same, because in each one it seems like they're just kind of like reiterating and re-explaining to us that this is what has been happening. They've been going over and over again that this is what's been happening, on and on and on, and that seems like all that's been happening in this series. I also really hate that my favorite character, amongst one of my top 5 favorite characters in all of DC Comics, doesn't remember who he is, doesn't want to be the person that he is, and he's not Nightwing anymore. That's messed up. A lot of fans don't like it, and I'm amongst one of those people. Either way, so in this issue we actually see Rick Grayson, the cabbie, running around with Nightwing Blue, which is Zach, one of the police officers, and they're just fighting criminals who are stealing from a museum or something like that. The 2 of them are battling. Nightwing again is going over in his mind and in his dialogue all the things that have been happening. He's reiterating all these things, how he's working with these different Nightwings, and then we actually see that Zach pulls out a gun to try to stop them. Richard says that he can't do it because that's not his thing, but Zach can because he's a cop, so he's used to that. And speaking of this, Dick Grayson also says that these guys think that they can just go out there and solve crime and throw on a costume and everything's going to be okay without any consequences. And so far, that's what they've been doing. It's consequence-free. They've just been taking down petty criminals here and there, but they haven't had a real threat or a real foe to deal with yet. So eventually, he's mentioning that there's going to be consequences that they will suffer down the road. Then we actually see the other Nightwings come in. We see them. It's Zach's sister, Colleen. She's Nightwing Gold. We see Malcolm Hutch, who's Nightwing Red. And then we see the leader of the team, Alphonse Stefanzans. I can't pronounce that. And he's being called Nightwing Prime, wearing the main Nightwing suit. And they're all kind of suspicious of Rick Grayson here because they see that he has these natural instincts and abilities, and he seems to be trained years beyond them because he has his muscle memory. He still has these skills whether he remembers them or not, and so it just all kind of comes natural to him as Rick, but they don't know that. They don't know who he is, and they're very suspicious, and they've been talking about it as a group, and Zach's like, what? He's a good guy, though, and he's pretty friendly. So Rick Grayson kind of leaves them, and he goes back, he does his cab driving thing, and he actually picks up a customer. And this ends up being William Cobb, because we see that Dick Grayson's grandfather, William Cobb, who is one of the Talons with the Court of Owls, is actually still alive, and he's stalking his grandson, probably trying to convince him to eventually become a Talon, because Dick Grayson's bloodline was trained at Haley's Circus to become new Talons, and Dick Grayson was supposed to become a Talon, and that was all during the Court of Owls and the Night of Owls and all that stuff, but we are getting back into that right now, and so Dick Grayson doesn't know who's in the back of his car. He can't remember the name William Cobb, so he's having a conversation with his grandfather, and he's talking about it, and Talon pulls out his knife at a certain point, and they're just kind of talking about things, and William says that he's here studying on his family and stuff like that, and then they kind of go their separate ways, and he's like, oh, I hope you have the best of luck researching your family, and he's like, you know what, it's going great so far, because he's right in the car with his target, which is Rick Grayson, and he's primed for the taking because he has this amnesia, so he is ready to be manipulated and controlled and morphed into a Talon, and I think that might happen eventually. Dick Grayson then goes to the bar where his girlfriend works at, and there's a bunch of blackouts happening throughout the city, and one eventually happens, which means that Dick Grayson knows that he's going to go out and stop all the looting and the petty crime that's going to happen while all the power's out. So he puts on his little stupid suit, and he runs out, and he starts saving the day and stopping people from stealing. We then actually see that Zack, Nightwing Blue, is on one of the rooftops, and he suddenly gets attacked in the back with a knife, and then we actually see that it is Talon. It is William Cobb, and he calls Zack a fraud, and he says that you can't be him. None of you can. You're frauds. None of you deserve to wear this mantle. And then, as Zack is calling for help, all the other 3 Nightwings and our actual boy, Dick Grayson, aka Rick Grayson, show up to where Zack is supposed to be, only he is noosed by his neck and tied up, covered in blood with many of the Talon things inside of him, and he is almost dead, nearly dead, and I thought he was at first. Dick Grayson then slashes him down and kind of saves him, catches him as he falls, and he says that he's still alive, and then Zack tells them all that the name of the person who did this was Talon. We actually then go back to the bar that Rick Grayson's girlfriend is working at, and we see that William Cobb has now gone into this bar, and he says that he's excited to meet her. And that's where this issue actually ends. Again, it seems like every issue that we're just kind of reiterating the same thing over and over again, and I think that eventually this does have to come to an end. It does have to come to a climax, and we do need to see something new happen. I think that Dick Grayson might honestly become a Talon and go down that path that he was actually meant to go down. And that would be interesting for a story. It would be different, it would be new, and I know that's what they're trying to do here in this series, though I don't fully support or like it. It would be something different and it would shake it up. I do want to just see Dick Grayson go back to being Nightwing and wearing his black and blue, black and red, I don't care. Just make him Nightwing again. He's one of my favorite dudes. He's the heir to the mantle of the cowl and the cape to become Batman. He's the one who's best able to defeat Bruce Wayne and become that great bat of Gotham City. And he's a cab driver calling himself Rick Grayson. And he's letting 4 other individuals save his city wearing his suits, calling themselves Nightwing. Come on, DC Comics. Come on. Either way, the issue was kind of decent. I kind of want to see where this whole storyline's going with William Cobb and what it happens from here with the whole Talon situation. The artwork is still pretty good throughout the issue, and as much as I hate this whole Rick Grayson thing, I do keep coming back and reading the series, honestly more than I was right before this whole shakeup and change, and I want to see Nightwing just come back. Come on, bring Dick Grayson back. Rick Grayson's for chumps. Either way, I'm Kelly One Shot. You take care, have a great day, and goodbye.